Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga, available over on Amazon.com. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a franchise that is near and dear to my heart, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, I can remember growing up, I used to watch the Turtles on TV all the time. It was one of my favorite early morning cartoons. I'd watch it right before I headed off to school. And I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. I remember in the early 90s or mid-90s or whatever when the live action movie came out. And I must have seen that thing like 5 times in the theater. I dragged my poor mom out to, force her to take me to the movies just so I could watch that movie over and over and over again. I loved it so much. And, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 with the ninja rap and stuff like that. It wasn't quite as good as the first movie, but I still enjoyed it. And during that time, I actually got really into the comic books as well. Found some, previously published graphic novels where the Turtles were a lot more kind of dark and adult and gritty, and which is how they started off as. And I absolutely loved that take on the Turtles. It was so much different and fresher than the stuff that I was seeing in the cartoon. And it was a big thing for me personally, growing up. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a big part of my childhood. And I had all the toys and all that stuff, and I'd play with them all the time. And it was wonderful. It's a great kids franchise. And of course, like Hollywood typically does with great franchises, they ran it into the ground, and Turtles kind of died off after a while. And they tried to resurrect them recently with a couple of movies from Michael Bay's production company that, to be honest, were pretty awful. I went and saw both of them. And the second one was just like, oof. The second one was bad, but the first one was like fairly like passable. But it walked this fine line between trying to appeal to kids and also trying to appeal to adults, and it just didn't do either very well. And so the cinematic reboot of the Turtles franchise kind of, bombed. But now we have this article by comicbook.com where they sat down with co-creator Kevin Eastman at the San Diego Comic-Con, and they basically asked him, what's up with the Turtles? What can we expect? And so the headline for this article, which is a tad misleading, but whatever, it says, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-creator Kevin Eastman teases a mature Netflix-type live-action show. And when they say teases, I don't think he's in talks with anyone over at Netflix for a live-action Turtle show, but he kind of talks about, how great it would be. But we're going to get to the article. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise has been running since the mid-'80s, and most fans know it from the kid-friendly animated series and movies, but in reality, the original Ninja Turtles comic series were a lot more adult-oriented, and they were. Trust me. TMNT creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's original run of the comic at Mirage Studios produced a story that was bloody, violent, and harsh in language, and for some fans, it's still the purest and most beloved form of the story. And I gotta agree with that. Like, the original version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is so different from probably what most mainstream people are aware of. I would highly recommend that if you haven't read the original comics that they're referring to here in terms of like the more adult Turtles and stuff like that you definitely try to check them out because they're really, really good. While at the San Diego Comic-Con 2019, comicbook.com got to sit down with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle co-creator Kevin Eastman to talk about TMNT number 100, the 35th anniversary, and of course the future of the franchise. Given the true roots of the franchise, we had to ask Eastman, could Ninja Turtles actually find a way to add that classic, hard-edged version of the characters to the franchise, specifically in the form of a live-action show? Here's what Eastman had to say. It's a great question, because it's really been so fascinating as we watch so many things on the entertainment side of our industry change so much in particular. And I think of how I enjoyed Daredevil, the Netflix TV series with Charlie Cox. And because Daredevil was a huge influence, obviously, on the Turtles universe, and for me, that was a favorite comic growing up. I feel like the Turtles have evolved to this point after 35 years almost. And this sounds weird, but it's almost to where they started out where we had the original black and white comic book come out, intended for our older audience, and then we developed a cartoon show specifically for a younger audience. And now I feel like we've gone back to that place where we have the original fans that are like 30 years old. So basically, if you were a fan of the cartoon version of the Turtles as a kid, you're now all grown up and you want a more mature and adult version of the Turtles. Makes sense. Having an adult-themed Turtles show on a streaming platform like Netflix seems to be more than just an idea for Eastman. It seems like an avenue of the franchise that he's eager to go down. The streaming service is already working on a new TMNT animated movie, but Eastman thinks there's room for something else as well. They go on to quote Eastman, "I feel like that's the direction I think we can go, and there'll be enough of an audience to support both, because we do see a lot of fans asking when we can get that edgy, Netflix Daredevilish sort of intensity of the Turtles. At the same time, you can balance that with such a wonderful cartoon series like Rise of the Turtles, the new series, back to that spot where we're sacred to a much younger audience. So I think that's hopefully in the future. I'd love to see that, really." So basically what he's saying here is that just kind of like the, comic book superheroes where you have cartoon movies and cartoon series in conjunction with live action movies that are a little bit more adult. He thinks that there's room for that with the Turtles. And I guess Netflix is, producing a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animated movie, possibly a new series. And Eastman here is saying, like, it'd be great in addition to that to have a live action TV series that was more for the adults. So like you're hitting all the demographics with the Turtles here. You're hitting the mature adults who want darker, more serious stories. And then you're also hitting up the kids who, want kind of like the cheesier, more family-friendly fare. And it's a good pipe dream. I just don't see it happening, and I'll tell you why. Basically, it's because of the main characters. Like, the main characters of these series are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? So how do you do that in a live-action TV show? I mean, unless you want it to have, like, men in suits who look extremely cheesy, you're not going to be able to pull it off because it requires a lot of special effects, and that's very expensive to do. So, unless they go back to the 1990s style of making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action stuff, where you have like these very elaborate animatronic costumes that actors wear, it's going to have to be CGI. And, the budgets for a TV show are already razor thin, and having, basically every shot with your main characters be completely CGI'd, at that point, you might as well be making a animated movie, or an animated cartoon show. So I just don't ever see Eastman's dream of a kind of Daredevil style Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action series coming to fruition unless there's a way to get really high quality CGI done for the show on a shoestring budget. I mean, if you just look at the Michael Bay movies, the Turtles, the way that worked was they had actors for each turtle, and they had these like weird like costume rigs that were animated over with using computers for the finished movie. So you had like these CGI Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the final films, and they looked really good, but it was also really expensive, So I think like just for budgetary reasons, this is a pipe dream. And when I first saw this article, I was like, "Oh, cool! They're actually going to make a live action version of the Turtles." And it's basically, I think, just Eastman kind of waxing philosophical about how great it would be to be able to do that, as opposed to it actually happening. I mean, even though Netflix, they have no trouble throwing money at series and stuff like that, I feel like this series would be just prohibitively expensive simply due to the fact that they would need to CGI all the Turtles. And they probably need to CGI Splinter and all these other characters that, are in there. Unless they shift the focus to the human characters like April O'Neil and stuff like that. But at that point, it's like, why even bother doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Because the whole point is to have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in there. So, I doubt it's going to happen. Although with the streaming wars ramping up, Netflix is really going to have to up its offering of original series. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they, really push the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fare that they're working on, the series and the movie. But I just don't see their live action stuff, kind of bearing any live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series. But, I've been wrong before, so I guess we'll find out. What do you guys think about this? Would you like to see a live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series on Netflix? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish, and I will catch you guys in the next video.